Yo, what's up, guys? Teacher Paul here, and today we are reacting to a very interesting title and thumbnail. This is from Maria, who says, "Back in 2002, the place I live in became famous, and tourists overcrowded the place, all thanks to a famous actor moving here. The actor being a whale. Here's the story." Oh, this is gonna be so cool. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and we are right now live on Twitch. If you want to watch this video without my reaction, link is in the description. Go watch it and then come back and watch my video. But always support the creator. This is from a channel called Trober. Trober. Let's check it out.
On July 16th, 1993, Warner Bros. Entertainment released their newest movie, Free Willy.
Ooh,
a delightful film about...
Wait a second. This is about Free Willy, the whale. When you said an actor whale, I was actually thinking it might be Free Willy. Oh, wow. So Free Willy moved to Norway? That is so cool.
About a troublemaking orphan boy discovering the meaning of family and friendship by releasing a captive killer whale back into the wild.
Wow. Yeah,
the movie
this scene
was
is
a success,
incredible.
Becoming a surprise hit at the box office, and created a small franchise consisting of 2 sequels, a reboot, and an animated series.
Now that I did not know. What? There were so many Free Willys? I had absolutely no clue that there were so many Free Willy movies. I thought it was just the one. And this oh wow, this poster right here, having, you know, the whale jump over the boy, that was absolutely magical.
Box office, and created a small franchise consisting of 2 sequels, a reboot, and an animated series. It also brought a lot of attention to the treatment of captive killer whales. But most of the attention was put onto one in particular, a killer whale with the Japanese name KEIKO.
KEIKO!
The real-life whale who played the titular character Willy from the movie. Because it turns out, KEIKO and his movie counterparts actually have a lot in common. In November 1979, just off the coast...
Wait, but that was the actor, the animal actor, the actual actor, right? So, okay. What he's saying is that KEIKO, the real whale, had a similar story to the counterpart, Free Willy. Okay, so it kind of told its own story, kind of. I wonder if maybe the writer of Free Willy kind of saw KEIKO, learned about his story, and then wrote on top of that. But anyways, let's see. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
Of Reyðarfjörður, Iceland, KEIKO...
How do you say that?
Just off the coast of Reyðarfjörður, Iceland, KEIKO was ripped away from his pod at the estimated age of 2 years old. He would live in an aquarium here until 1982, when he was sold to Marineland in Ontario, Canada. And it's here where KEIKO would begin his training to perform in live orca shows for people's entertainment.
Wow.
He would be sold again, however, in 1985, this time to the Reno Adventura Park in Mexico City, where he would remain for most of his life until he was found by the Free Willy movie producers. Audiences realized,
that's so
wait,
cool.
This movie is about how taking animals from their natural environment and putting them on display for entertainment is wrong. But that's exactly what happened to KEIKO, the star of the movie. So, audiences and fans alike began a campaign, writing letters and making phone calls to whale preservations, demanding the release of KEIKO back into the wild.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic that it is kind of ironic if you think about it, because in order for the movie to happen, you need an actor, and in order for the actor to be there, it has to kind of follow your commands. So it is kind of weird. I know.
It's 300,000 phone calls. People called from all over the world.
The producers of Free Willy, whale biologists, and animal rights groups would hear the audience's cries, and they began to come up with a plan to do a good deed, and actually, Free Willy.
Wow. But guys, I know people have a lot of good intentions, and I've seen videos in the past like people going and freeing freshwater fish into salt water. That's crazy. And people like freeing wild, well, not wild, but domestic animals into the wild, which is also you're killing them. So careful what or how you help, because if Keiko was domesticated, how is it going to survive in the wild? You know, so it's better if it's properly cared for, like a domestic animal. You know, properly cared for. Freeing Willy.
So, here's the plan. Take Keiko from his pen in Mexico City and release him back into his native waters of Iceland. But that's easier said than done, because before they can do that, Keiko needs treatment. During his time in Mexico City, Keiko's health...
What? That is so sad. Nemo got a lot of kids flushing their aquarium fish down the toilet. No.
Had declined. He had developed a weakened...
Sorry, I'm pausing too much. Let's pay attention.
But that's easier said than done, because before they can do that, Keiko needs treatment. During his time in Mexico City, Keiko's health had declined. He had developed a weakened immune system, a drooped dorsal fin, was extremely underweight, and had contracted papillomavirus, causing lesions to develop all over his skin.
No way.
His living conditions in Mexico City were not great either. He lived in a small tank filled with fresh water mixed with chlorine, not salt water. And the environment he lived in was hot and dry, not the kind of environment that killer whales are used to. Keiko also lacked the instincts of a wild killer whale. He didn't know how to hunt for food. He couldn't dive more than 20 feet, and he couldn't hold his breath for longer than 3 minutes. If Keiko ever wanted to be released back into the wild, he would need to be in peak physical condition, and would have to be rehabilitated to learn how to live like a wild whale again.
Exactly.
But before they can do that, Keiko needs a new home. His habitat...
It's very interesting, Anna. I was thinking about Dimash videos today, and I was like, where is Anna? I was like, where is... I haven't seen her in a while.
Reino Adventura was not going to meet the needs for Keiko's rehabilitation. Whale biologists and animal rights groups needed to build a new habitat for him, one that would treat his ailments and match the conditions of the ocean. They spent the next year spreading awareness about Keiko and their goal to release him back into the wild. Many calls were made to aquariums and marine sanctums all over the world to help Keiko with his recovery and build him a new home. Because if they don't start working on his recovery soon, Keiko could die from his conditions. It wouldn't be until November 1994 when they got the attention of Free Willy's own movie studio, Warner Bros., who, after hearing about audiences' ambition to see Keiko be released, decided to come in and help out. They collaborated with the International Marine Mammal Project to create the Free Willy Keiko Foundation, and with the foundation set, they soon found a place that would take Keiko in, the Oregon Coast Aquarium in Newport. And soon, they got to work on building a new facility to save Keiko. But before they can do that, Keiko needs money. Releasing Keiko back into the wild was not going to be a cheap project, and the foundation needed lots of money if they wanted to treat Keiko and let him go free. They managed to get the money, however. Majority of it came from 3 different places. The first was the aforementioned Warner Bros. The other was a man by the name of Greg McCall, American entrepreneur and cell phone pioneer who came to the foundation's aid after reading about Keiko in a magazine article. In fact, he was one of the founders of the Keiko Foundation after he donated $2 million to them to be established. And the final donators were children.
Children.
Free Willy was a big hit with kids from all over the world, and many of the calls for Keiko's release came from children who wanted to see their favorite character be back where he belongs.
All these kids from around the world started becoming the force behind the plan for doing the right thing for Keiko. They were writing to us by the droves saying, why can't Keiko find a new home?
By February 1995, with the donations from these and many others, the foundation finally raised enough to build Keiko a new home.
Okay, I hope that all of that money went into this project, and I hope it didn't really go anywhere else.
A few months later, the facility was complete
Okay.
and was ready for its new arrival. On
Nice.
January 7th, 1996, after 11 years of being in Mexico City, KEIKO was ready to be moved to his new home. Thousands of people came to say goodbye to the whale they've known for years as he was loaded into a box, then onto a truck,
Wow, there we go.
and later into a plane to begin his journey and be one step closer to freedom.
How do you even transport a killer whale in an airplane? It must have been a very uncomfortable flight, but well worth it.
How's KEIKO adapting to his new home there in Oregon?
You're doing just beautifully.
Over 2 years of treatment go by, and KEIKO is healthier than he's ever been. His lesions are gone, his
Nice.
immune system is stronger, and he's now the proper weight of a wild killer whale. He's also learned how to hunt for his own food, and how to hold his breath for longer periods. And after going through training to be untrained, his reliance for humans has begun to shrink. The Foundation even tried to find
That is
KEIKO's
so
original
wholesome.
pod by analyzing his vocalizations. Killer whales communicate by whistles and clicks, and each pod has a unique way of communicating with one another. If they can find a pod in Iceland that matches the vocalizations of KEIKO, then maybe they can reunite him with his family. By September 1998, veterinarians determined that KEIKO was healthy enough and is ready to leave for the next step on his journey to freedom. On September 9th, 1998, they took him out of his pen,
Wow.
back into a box, onto a truck, and into a plane, and flew him back to his home in Iceland.
Dang, that is such a nice plane.
But KEIKO isn't going to be free just yet. He still has much more to do. The KEIKO Foundation took him to Klettsvik Bay in the island of Vestmannaeyjar, Iceland, where they had turned the entire bay into a walled-off sea pen the
Wow.
size of an American football field.
See, now that's how you treat a superstar, because KEIKO was a Hollywood movie star. That's like an international star. There is also, he was in Mexico City, right? And then he went to Oregon, and then he went to Iceland. So I think the kind of like the temperature of the water, he also needs to get used to, right?
Here, KEIKO would begin his final years of training. He would begin to adapt to Iceland's environment where he will spend the rest of his life.
Hi,
And be
PJ.
let out into the open ocean for swims, first under the watchful eye of his caretakers in boats and helicopters, but slowly progressed to him swimming out on his own, unsupervised, before coming back to his pen. During his time here, KEIKO was heard communicating with and even swimming with other wildlife in the area.
It's so
His abilities
wholesome.
to hunt and forage for food had increased, and he was healthier and happier than he's ever been. Soon, KEIKO will be ready to be released back into the open ocean, and the Foundation will have done a good deed by releasing him back into the wild.
Wow. It's scary, but you know, such a good deed. They literally freed Willy.
But
Literally.
it wasn't a good deed without controversy. At this point in time,
As always,
it's
right?
2002, and KEIKO has been in captivity for over 20 years, having all of his basic necessities done for him
How
by
long do they
humans.
live?
People claim that despite all the training to break his reliance for humans, that it wouldn't be enough, that there was no way that he could go back to his animal instincts. There was concern for how KEIKO would do with other killer whales, because he hasn't seen or interacted with one since his time in Canada back in 1985, where
If anybody knows, what is the biggest threat to a killer whale? Like, what's the biggest threat? Is it sharks, or like what would be KEIKO's biggest threat?
it was reported that he was bullied by other killer whales. If he didn't do well with whales in captivity, how was he going to do with whales in the wild? There was even controversy regarding the cost of the project, with the cost of researchers, veterinarians, advertising, food, boats, helicopters, transportation, habitation, rehabilitation, all of which came to a cost of over $20 million.
I mean, come on. Come on, honestly, let me look straight into your eyes here. Do you know that most big movie actors earn $20 million? Why are people complaining about that? I mean, they literally, like, I think Will Smith got $20 million to do what was the movie? I don't know. One of his movies, one of his biggest movies. Was it Men in Black? No, I don't think so. But I think Chris Tucker got 10 million for Rush Hour. Like, come on. He deserves it. Honestly, like, big Free Willy was a big hit, and he definitely deserves the 20 million spent on him. I don't know why people are complaining. I mean, it was not only, listen, it was 153 million at the box office. So come on. Come on. Exactly. They signed up for the movie. The killer whale didn't. So the killer whale deserves its payday. And it's not getting royalties. It's not getting a paycheck. So $20 million spent on that, you know, for a movie that did 150 million in the box office. People shouldn't be complaining.
The same amount as the budget for this movie.
Ooh, see? See, I paused a little bit earlier. It's the same budget. They spent 20 million. And you know why they spent 20 million only in that budget? Because they didn't have to pay high pay for actors. So yeah. Okay, let's go back a little bit.
Habitation, rehabilitation, all of which came to a cost of over $20 million. The same amount as the budget for this movie.
And dude, imagine they spent $20 million and their box office was $153 million just for the first movie, let alone the franchise, let alone the DVD sales, let alone the, you know, the merchandise and the whole brand. They literally became a brand. And not only was facilities paid for by donations, so there's you know,
people claim that this money was spent poorly, that it could have been used to help multiple killer whales in captivity instead of just one. Some people said that instead of using the money to release KEIKO, they should have used the money to improve his living conditions. He would live in a
also
better
makes
environment,
sense.
although he wouldn't be free. The KEIKO Foundation would soon have issues with money later in the project. Remember Greg McCall from earlier? Well, he was donating up to $300,000 a month to the foundation. But in early 2002, he would make a bad investment and become a victim of the dot-com bubble, and his net worth would shrink greatly from $8 billion to $1 billion. Afterwards, he would cut back on his spending and leave the KEIKO Foundation in March of 2002. Now, they had just...
Why the heck does this happen to good people? Like, man, good people, they always get the short end of the stick. This dude was helping out. He had to double his net worth, not lose everything. That's, oh man.
Lost one of their biggest financial supporters and had to start cutting back on resources late into the project. And it wasn't a project that every researcher agreed with.
What?
Some who said that returning KEIKO back into the wild was misguided, especially for a whale that's been in captivity and around humans for as long as he has. One researcher even said that the best way to help KEIKO was to euthanize him as a sick animal.
What?
And another person said that KEIKO would be better off as meat. Also,
oh my
this
goodness,
isn't a
man.
controversy, this is just something interesting that I found. But in the movie
What's
Free
wrong with
Willy
people?
and its sequel, there are two different songs that play within both films, and both songs are performed by American pop singer Michael Jackson.
Wow.
And it turns out he could have been KEIKO's owner. In 1993, shortly after the release of Free Willy, Michael Jackson actually considered buying KEIKO for his Neverland Ranch in California, but decided not to after discovering the cost of Keiko's declining health. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, but despite all the controversy, dwindling funds, and naysayers,
I mean, you can't criticize Michael Jackson. At least he wanted to, help. And then he's like, oh, but if we aren't able to take care of him and he dies, and that's just it's gonna be really, really bad. So he decided not to. It's the same thing that, like, if you are considering adopting a pet and then you look at your conditions and think like, this could be bad if I can't give enough time and care. So I think it would be better other people take care of it because they have more time, they have more care. Obviously, money wasn't a problem for Michael, but it wasn't an impulse decision. While other billionaires would just like recklessly buy stuff and then just throw it aside. So you can't criticize Michael on that because it was a thoughtful decision thinking. Yeah, I think it's better if other people take care of them because of the health conditions, and it wasn't thoughtless. So yeah.
they continued with their project. Keiko is going to be free, one way or another.
And he's going to be Free Willy. Not Kill Willy, Free Willy.
Wow.
By the summer of 2002, almost 4 years after coming back to Iceland, veterinarians and researchers determined that Keiko was ready for the wild. His training and rehabilitation are complete. He is healthier than ever, and he knows how to live like a wild whale. On July 15th, 2002, Keiko was led out of his pen and into the open ocean.
Wow.
But this time, he wouldn't be going back to his pen. This time, he will be free and stay free. Everyone said goodbye as they watched Keiko swim away from captivity. He was last seen following a pod of orcas into the open ocean. The Foundation completed their good deed, and Keiko was finally free.
Oh, I wonder what happened to Keiko, guys.
But how did Keiko do on his own? Well, before he was released, researchers placed a tracker on him so they can see where he was going.
Wow, okay.
Throughout the month of July and August, Keiko spent...
I was gonna ask if they added a tracker, but I thought, nah, that would be too intrusive. That would be too, that wouldn't really be freedom. But yeah, they did. They did it. Of course they did it.
most of his time in and around the waters of Iceland, until he got out of range for the tracker and disappeared for a little while. It wouldn't be until September 2nd, 2002, when Keiko would reappear swimming freely off the coast of Skalvik Fjord in Norway.
Nice.
900 miles from where he was originally released.
Wow.
Researchers from the Foundation would move from Iceland to Norway to conduct tests on Keiko. They determined that despite Keiko suffering from mild stress and exhaustion, that he had been eating well and was perfectly healthy. But
There you go, Keiko.
he was alone.
You got to pet him? That is amazing. Wow. You know, everybody ends up wanting to go to Norway. Even Keiko is like, oh, I like this. Iceland is nice, but hey, gotta go to Norway. Gotta see the fjords for myself. Just traveling and touristing.
There was no sign of any other orcas accompanying him. During his time in Norway,
man.
he sought out interaction from humans and was seen swimming with the locals and giving them rides on his back. This lasted for a few days until the Norwegian government put restrictions on the public, and the only people that could interact with him now would only be his caretakers. While in Skalvik Fjord, the caretakers from the Keiko Foundation tried to integrate him into wild orca pods. Numerous attempts were made, but all had failed. Keiko
Guys, I'm sorry for pausing, but this breaks my heart. Oh no, Keiko wanted human affection, human interaction. Keiko didn't want to be around his fellow whales. He just wanted to go back and, like humans, he was so attached to humans. He went back to the humans. Do you think Keiko, because we know animals have feelings, but do you think Keiko at the end felt like he was abandoned by the humans? Do you think Keiko, nobody thought about that, like, that part of, because we think animals want to be in the wild, but can you imagine thank you so much, Anthea, for the coffee request. Can you imagine if I take my dog and leave it in the wild? It will feel abandoned. It will feel like, wow, after so long of taking care of me, he just abandoned me. No, Keiko. Wow, Keiko just wanted to be with the humans. Oh no, this is heartbreaking. And then the government kept forcing him to go and be with oh man. Okay, let's see how this ends. This is heartbreaking though.
Would either be rejected by these wild pods, or he would float motionless hundreds of feet away from them. As mentioned earlier,
isolated. Just isolated from them.
All had failed. Keiko would either be rejected by these wild pods, or he would float motionless hundreds of feet away from them. As mentioned earlier, researchers tried to find Keiko's original pod by matching their vocalizations with his. Despite finding pods that were similar to these vocalizations, he was still rejected by them. And sadly, Keiko never found his original family.
Aw, man.
Keiko knew how to hunt and how to survive on his own. And even though he had the ability to survive in the open ocean like a wild whale, he would still return to humans for interaction. His caretakers would still watch over him, feed him,
sad.
And take him out on swims. But they wanted him to live free, like he should. As a way to coax him to be more independent, they would ignore him by hiding away on their boats. This didn't work, however, as he thought they were playing a game, and he would wait for them to stop playing.
Hide and seek.
Despite all their efforts, they couldn't get Keiko to live with his own kind. The Foundation continued to take care of him like they did back when he was in the aquarium, and still tried to integrate him into the wild.
Wow.
This would go on for over a year, until December 12th, 2003, when Keiko was found floating in Taknes Bay in Norway. But he wasn't swimming freely.
What?
In fact, he wasn't swimming at all.
What? He died?
Keiko was dead. The cause of death was pneumonia. That same day, Keiko's caretakers began a funeral for the whale they spent years to free. The event and location of the funeral was done in secret to avoid a media circus.
What the heck?
A hole was dug for him close to where he died. He was placed inside to be buried, and Keiko was laid to rest.
Dude, this dude wants to make me cry here.
It's easy to look at this
failed.
project and make a mockery of its outcome. But the end goal was to release Keiko back into his native waters. And they succeeded. He lived a better, healthier life. Was born in the wild, became a star in a beloved movie, touched the hearts of millions, and with the help of fans from around the world, got to be released back into the wild, and died in the wild. And even though he might not have been integrated into a wild pod, he was surrounded by people who cared for him, loved him, and would do anything to see him where he belonged. Could the project have been done differently? Could the money have been spent differently? Maybe. But in the end, Keiko got a taste of what freedom was like, which is a lot more that can be said than other captive whales. And it only would have happened to Keiko, because Keiko was different. Keiko was a lucky one.
Oh my goodness. This, I really want to cry. Whales are such intelligent animals. Why do we keep doing this? Honestly, guys, man. Dude, I don't know what to say. Obviously I wouldn't know what to do either. But here's a plan. You know, when they built that whole facility, that facility needs maintenance, right? And for people to maintain something that requires money, they need to generate money. Keiko was a superstar, a movie star. You know, why not have an audience come in, pay a ticket to see Keiko? I know you guys, some people are against zoos and some people are against, holding the animal captive. But what if the animal enjoys the attention of the humans? Like Keiko, he kept going back to being to looking for interactions, and the only problem was that in Mexico City he was mistreated. Thank you so much for the follow. But if you have a facility that is huge, that gives him enough space, and he's being cared for, he's eating well, and only some part of his day would be to, well, I'm not even saying he doesn't even have to perform, but show up, greet the fans. I mean, everybody needs to work, right? And if we're treating Keiko as a human, gotta have him work as well. It just seems like throwing him in the wild would be just really sad. Especially, okay, you tried it, he survived, but after seeing that he's not adapting, why not take him back? Why not put him back in that big area in Iceland and have people come and pay as a tourist attraction? You know what I'm saying? It's clear that Keiko wanted to be with the humans. It's clear that he wanted human interaction. It's clear that he wanted to be back in human care. And the way humans do stuff is paying for stuff. So why not have people come meet and greet for a fee and use that money to maintain the establishment? I'm sure a lot of people would come and visit Free Willy Star. They're so sad. Sometimes we think we're doing the right thing, and at the end, we're not, right? And I think the most common sense thing would be, we've treated Keiko as a star. So, put him where people can go and visit him, and that will help him, that will benefit him. He's not in a small area, he's in a big area now. He's swimming freely. Oh, he's not in the wild. He doesn't want to be in the wild. The other white whales doesn't want him to be there either. So he's one of us at this point. After 20 years, what are you going to do? And people, they criticize because they don't want to think about what's best for the animal. They think they just criticize because they think they know what's best. But that's why we have experts. And people, some people don't think at all. But we need to show them, look, we've tried. We put him in the wild. He's not surviving. If he continues there, he will die. Because I'm sure they knew that. Because he was living in isolation. And he was living by himself. And he didn't have any support from other orcas. It's just common sense that it's safer for him to be here with us. And in order for us to pay for that, people can come and visit him. And he likes the attention. That's why we see him swimming with other humans. He likes the attention. He likes being with humans. And it's not something that is being forced upon. I mean, animals are really smart. especially whales, are very intelligent. And there were clear signals that it didn't mind being around humans. And if the humans that were going there to visit him and pet him and give him attention, if they pay a fee, that's going into his welfare and, to his taking care. It's just, but the problem that we have is that people are afraid to get canceled. People are afraid of the media. People are afraid of the backlash. They don't do things because they are looking out for the general good. They do things because people are pressuring them into doing it. And that sucks. And that really does suck. And as I said, 20 million to spend on KEIKO is more than giving back to what KEIKO did with that movie, because that movie wouldn't have been as big as it was without obviously the main star, the whale. Oh man. And now I wonder if people who criticized and said, "Oh, free Willy, free KEIKO, throw him into the wild," do those people feel guilt at this point? No, they don't even. They're like, "Oh, oh man, I feel so bad about this." Apparently, a couple of caretakers were celebrating a successful release in a nearby city when the local news came on, showing the kids swimming with them. Yeah, but guys, if you have any domesticated animal, you know that it's a bad idea to throw them into the wild. They're not going to survive. Even if you train them, they're too attached. And that's why they're domestic. They're domestic because they live with humans. They interact with humans. And, humans, as bad as some of us are, humans are very affectionate. And animals love that. When you pet a dog, that dog's not going to get pet by another dog the way a human is petting them, and it feels loved and it feels cared for. Oh man, KEIKO, dude, KEIKO was right down here in his quality of life. And then I feel like we hit the sweet spot, maybe in Iceland or with the facility. And then it went back to like, hey, buddy, you're in the wild now. Go get your own food. Go make new friends. It's just like, dude. Just really, man. Okay. I'm really sad for KEIKO, especially it died at what age? Let me see. How long do killer whales live for? 50 to 90 years. Oh my gosh. And how old did KEIKO live? I want to cry. Guys, KEIKO, the orca, died at age 27. And they live as long as humans do. They live as long as humans do. Whether it's from 50 to 90 years. I feel like we failed KEIKO, and it lived half its life. It lived half its life. It could have lived 90 years. Anyways, that was kind of like a sad story, but thank you so much for sharing it, Maria. And I hope we do better next time. I hope we learn from our mistakes, because that is a mistake, honestly. And pneumonia, maybe it was something with the temperature of the water. Don't know. Maybe it got sick because, it wasn't used to the water being that cold. I don't know. Did anybody train it to be? Maybe. I don't know. Man. Okay, with that said, guys, we're going to the next video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I know people were trying to do the right thing, but at the end of the day, that's what happened. That's the story of KEIKO. Kind of a tragic story. And I'll see you guys in the next video, I guess. Click over here to request a video like Maria did. Bye-bye.